What's up, bass heads? All my car audio enthusiasts, YouTube, Facebook, even though this is going to be for YouTube only. It's the OG, your boy Sodda Pop Kid, coming to you direct with another tutorial. This time I'm not down in the storage unit. I'm here up in my house, in my bedroom, and all other rooms that I got all my car audio trophies that I've won since 2003 and competing in car audio competitions. I'm here instead of down there because I'm always doing my tutorials down there with the hood up. You always see that. And it seems like I'm at the same setting all the doggone time because my car's in the storage unit, which is just like a garage, any old way. Or either it's outside of the storage unit. You know what I mean? And I decided to do it this way this time, in my house where all my trophies are and all my winnings and all my certificates, plaques, and medals. You know what I mean? And show you all my trophies, to prove to you that I be winning. Even when I wasn't doing 160s, you know what I mean? When I was only in the 140s, I was out there winning and going up against guys that was doing 50s and 60s. Even if I got my ass kicked. I soldiered it out, man. I soldiered it out and still competed. I didn't let that stop me from competing because somebody was louder than me. And that's how I learned, and got better at what I do. You know what I mean? I got better with building, you know what I mean? And, building boxes and wiring and all of that. I got better because I would ask questions so I can learn. So I'm 742 trophies to date in. That's how many I have to date. And I will be doing my tutorial, you know what I mean, up here in my house where you see all my trophies. And that, I've been running out of room and trying to create more room for trophies. You know what I mean? And, yeah. And I keep finding more room for my trophies and plaques and medals and stuff like that. I keep finding more room. And then they're all labeled too. Like what year this all was. 2017, it's all written. You know what I mean? So I'll just give you a quick tour and just tell you, YouTube, because I've did tutorials like this for Facebook. You know what I mean? I'm trying to show y'all all angles of all my trophies. I did tutorials like this for Facebook, years on end, all the way down to when I only had like 15 trophies and I started getting more and more and more. You know what I mean? And when I started building up my trophies. So on YouTube, you'll see I have one video when I didn't have this many. I had like 600 and something or something like that. You know what I mean? So now I got 742, like I said, but this is from the beginning. You know what I mean? I could pull out, just from 2003, and then it just moves on down the line. So it's very organized. All the trophies are organized. All the trophies are in their right year and all of that, just to let you know. Just to make that brief. Okay? So 742 trophies, plaques, and medals and certificates, and all my certificates and stuff like that. Like, all the certificates that didn't have no plaque behind it. You know what I mean? I get them all laminated. So the certificates I won are laminated. I get them laminated so they'll last forever. You know what I mean? I just don't take the paper and stick it up on the wall because, after a while, y'all know it'll yellow because of the oxidation and all that. So they're all laminated. So I have all of that stuff forever. Being so, I did earn them and drive to Timbuktu in that same black car when it used to be yellow. I've drove to every competition. I've never had that car towed to a competition. In all the years that I've been competing, And all the states that I went to compete, I've driven that car. It has never been towed. Ever. All right? Just to let y'all know that. I drove it. Whether it was from here, from Pittsburgh to Indianapolis, from Pittsburgh to any part of Ohio I've been into, Cincinnati, Columbus, from Pittsburgh to Tennessee, as many times as I've been to Mecca World Finals, as many times as I've been to DB Drag World Finals, I've driven that car. Driven it. Do you understand? A lot of miles on that vehicle, man, and it's still up and running. And I try to keep it running. Just to let y'all know that. But this tutorial, and it's cold out now, so me going down to that storage unit all the time, and that gets a little redundant, me doing all of my tutorials down there. So I'm going to do them up here. All right, and I'm going to talk to y'all this time about, I was talking to you, the last video that I posted was like a couple days ago, and I posted up about my alternators getting hot, and that I'm about to go back to a manual water pump. I posted that up on YouTube. I didn't post it on Facebook just yet. And then I mentioned in there I may be moving to a garage and moving out of that storage unit. Well, to come to find out, my car with the custom-made mirror brackets on there is too wide to fit into that garage, the new garage. It's too wide. The opening to that garage is 7 foot 10 inches wide, and with the mirrors and everything on my car, it's 8 foot 6 inches wide, so it won't fit into the garage. And they were talking about maybe moving a wall over and all of that. I don't know if that's going to get done, if we can find somebody to do all of that for cheap. Knock that little wall out and move it and open it up about 12 inches, but then you'll have to do that with the garage door and everything as well. And so he left me with an option to try to find somebody that may want to do that and do it for a good price. Don't know. So I'm going to still be in a unit for now. Okay? Just to throw that out there. And I'm going to talk about this. So we're going to get on the subject of a couple of things probably on here. So this may be a little lengthy, maybe. About the manual water pump. So I explained that to you in the last tutorial, but I'll do a little recap. Why I may go back, well, I'm going to go back to a manual pump when I have an electric one on there. Well, it's because of the belt wrapping surface. There was more surface wrap with the manual pump because I got a 6-inch pulley on there. Okay, and I never had a squealing or chirping issue at all, people. When I had the manual pumping with the surface wrap, never, no matter what belt I was using. Okay, and when I went to the electric pump, now there's no pulley on the electric pump, and now it made the belt smaller, of course, made it shorter, but ever since then it would chirp and squeal and scream at startup. Mainly at startup. And I couldn't figure out why it was screaming and chirping. It wasn't because it was out of line, because I got a new bracket on there now, and it's not out of line. It's lined up. It's lined completely up, straight. Nothing's crooked. All right? And people were saying it was because it's out of line. They were saying stuff like that, and that the current drive 190 amp hour C-Max lithium battery, and that battery is bulletproof, man. Y'all know there ain't going to be no chirping or nothing with that kind of battery, even if you're using only one alternator. And it can be like an 80 amp alternator and that battery. That battery is a monster. Y'all know this already. All right? So you can't blame it on that. And I can blame it on just not having enough twisting surface wrap at a belt. It's like the belt has to twist around several different pulleys in order to be stable. All right, and I even tried a new belt. I went to a Continental belt because I was told by somebody the Continental belts are good quality belts. Yes, they are made out of a different kind of rubber, and they're better than Gates, and they're better than Dayco, and they're better than this and better. I tried Goodyear. I tried a few different belts and the same results, screaming. Sometimes the screaming is longer than the last time. It's usually only in the morning. And then sometimes it would squeal for 10 seconds. Sometimes it would squeal for 30 straight seconds. And it would do it, and they would get hot, and if some of the belts start burning off in the grooves of the pulleys, and I gotta scrape that belt out of there, and all this and that, and it's becoming very annoying, even though the electric water pump does keep it cooler under there because it moves 42 gallons per minute. All right, now I see the disadvantages. So, the manual pump that I had in there before all of this was in that car since I got a serpentine belt set I put in there. It was in there since 2018, and even though, and then, but a downfall to that is since I had a serpentine belt set I put in the car, the wrap makes that water pump go in reverse rotation, not a clockwise rotation like it's meant to go. So it makes it spin in reverse rotation. And so there's been discussions and a controversy about a water pump going in reverse rotation. Now I'm going to, to you mechanics out there, because this is where I find out if you really know your stuff, man. Okay? So I'm going to make sure I put this up on Facebook too, that if you really know your stuff as a mechanic, this is when I find out, if you really know what you're talking about or really know what you're doing, for the simple fact of me asking questions like this. And then you get cats, geniuses out there that act like they know everything when you're talking about certain things, to find out that they really don't know anything, or they only know some stuff. I mean, their knowledge only goes but so far. And that goes on car audio and all of that, man, because, there's some people out there that pretend like they know everything. And then you put them to the test and you find out, well, you don't know as much as I thought you know. That's why I tell people, I don't know everything about car audio. I've been a barber 46 years. I don't know everything about barbering, but I do know a lot. But I'm not going to pretend like, I'm a genius and I know all this, that, and the other, and nobody else knows nothing. So, the discussion about a water pump spinning in reverse rotation because of how the impellers are designed in the water pump. Okay, and if it's going to flow through the engine the same way if it spins in the opposite direction. And common sense will tell me, well, it should do the same thing, because on a 1973 Oldsmobile rocket, 350 rocket engine, it has two holes, an inlet and an outlet, or outlet and an inlet, and it has a hole on each side of the block where the water pump goes, and it's going to go in one and come out the other, or if it went in the other one and came out the other, they're the same holes. What difference does it make if as long as the antifreeze is moving through the engine? What difference does it make if it goes in one way or come out the other, goes to the radiator, gets cooled down by the electric fans or whatever, and moves back out just to do the same thing all over again? Okay? I had my manual water pump going in reverse rotation, and it never overheated. I drove all the way from Pittsburgh to Indianapolis, Indiana, and all that. That's 6 hours and 18 minutes in one doggone direction on a hot day, there and back. And the car, and to everywhere in Ohio and everything, and the car did not overheat. The only thing is, it wasn't as efficient. You know what I mean? That means it got a little hotter. The temperature got a little hotter. It would get up to 215 degrees at times on like a hot day. There was times it reached 220, but that's if I was just sitting and idling in one spot, just sitting there and idling. Y'all all know, you should know as a mechanic, if the car's in motion, if you're on the highway, and it's pulling air in motion from the highway, it's going to pull air through there, and it's going to run cooler if it's pulling air through the radiator. It's going to run cooler until you come to a dead stop in traffic, somewhere, or at a light somewhere, and then the engine slows down when you're sitting there, and it's not going to move as much water when it comes to a stop. You know that, and then when you go back in motion again, then it cools down better. Well, yeah, I dealt with that, and I dealt with it getting to about 215. So, but anyway, I could throw the same pump. I still got that pump. Yeah, I could throw that back on. But I started searching. So I was searching, and been searching and been going to YouTube and been looking on tutorials and been going on Google to get knowledge on a water pump going in reverse rotation, and been talking about it to guys on Facebook. And, cats on Facebook, sometimes they just think everything is readily available all the time. Why don't you get a pump that go in reverse rotation? Reverse rotation. Chevys make them. I have an Oldsmobile. The diesels, when they had a diesel engine in them, they made a reverse a water pump for that, but I don't have a diesel engine. I was told on Rock Auto you might can find it. Okay, but I haven't checked Rock Auto to make sure to see, because somebody on YouTube has said, man, Rock Auto sells a reverse rotation for the diesel engine. That's not a diesel engine. I don't even know if that pump will fit on a gasoline engine. But Flow Cooler, there's a company called Flow Cooler. FLOWKOOLER. One word. I found them online. Online. They make water pumps with a special billet aluminum impeller. They make their own impellers. Big round impellers. All right, they're real nice looking if you go on the website. They make them for every vehicle. Okay, and the impellers are colored. They're like blue or purple. You know what I mean? So I went on there and I seen they have an aluminum pump and a cast iron pump for most applications, even an Oldsmobile. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe I can call them guys and ask them if they could put an impeller on an Oldsmobile pump to make it spin in the opposite direction. But when you look at their impellers are straight up and down. The impellers are designed and they look like they can go in either direction, because the impellers aren't, some of them are bent. They like bent or twisted to spin in a certain direction, which means it'll move the water. They made it that way to move the water in that certain direction. And then you would probably have to turn it around the other way so they can spin. It's like when I had a flex fan. I'm using electric fans now, but when I had a flex fan on my car back in the day, and the fins are bent a certain way to move the air a certain way, y'all know what I'm talking about. And they accidentally sold me a Chevy flex fan where the fins bend in the opposite direction. And what happened was I threw that on, and instead of it blowing air outward, like pulling the air from the radiator, it pushed the air back into the radiator and it overheated. And I didn't know why I kept overheating. You know what I mean? And I was like, why is it overheating? And I couldn't understand why I was overheating for like 2 or 3 days, until a mechanic finally said, yo, when you got your new flex fan, did they give you the wrong one? Because it seems like something may be wrong with the flex fan. So when I went back to Advanced Auto Parts, I came to find out, oh, we sold you one for a Chevy. That's the reason, because their fins go in the opposite direction. That's why. So I call up Flow Cooler and talk to him. I was like, hey, can I talk to a tech, or should I talk directly to you? He's like, well, I may be able to answer some of your technical questions. So I say, hey, can you guys make me here's what I'm showing you guys, that sometimes we know more about the company's product than they know about their own product. That goes for car audio as well. I ask them, I say, hey, can y'all make the impeller go in the other direction, or can you put on a water pump and the impeller, can spin in both directions? He's like, well, our impellers can go in both directions, but what are you doing? And I was like, well, I explained it to him. I was like, I got a serpentine belt setup on there now, and it won't spin my manual water pump in clockwise rotation. The belt wrap makes it spin in reverse rotation. And I wanted to get an impeller on it that'll go in that rotation, so everything will be fine, so to move more water. But their water pumps are specially made, so they're high flow water pumps. They're high flow. They explain all of that in the description on the website of water pumps are made and what they're designed to do. So I said, I just wanted to make sure that if I got one of their pumps, they're like $158 for one, other than, what I mean, regular water pumps coming from Advance, rather it be a Elderbrock or whatever, only be $70 or $50 or $42 for a standard water pump. They're $158, which ain't bad because my electric water pump cost me damn near $600. So I'm asking him this. He's like, well, an impeller can go in either direction. I'm like, okay, now I know that. Now I know the direction don't matter. You know what I mean? He was like, but, that's the wrong way for it to go, and yada, yada, yada. And then I explained to him that, well, I had one on my car for 4 years and it went the other direction and it never overheated. It just got hotter under there. That's it. And he's like, interesting, because there should be air pockets and all of this happened. I was like, no, it never overheated. It just got hotter. And I want to keep it at like 190 or 195, maybe 200 tops. That's why I'm asking you this. You know what I mean? And he was like, well, it ain't so much that the impeller goes in either direction or it spins in reverse rotation. The problem is the vanes. He started talking about how the vanes was designed in the pump. And, a serpentine belt setup, always the pump was always designed to go in reverse rotation for serpentine belt setups, but in clockwise rotation for V-belt setups. Now, that's not the first time I heard that. So if you got a serpentine belt setup, you should have a pump going in reverse rotation. I was like, that I didn't know. You know what I mean? But I could tell he really wasn't as educated as I thought, because he expected when I ran a manual pump, it should have overheated and it should have been air pocket. It should not have worked unless the vanes, he kept saying, were designed. I was like, I don't know what you're technically talking about, man. If you're saying that a water pump should be all opened up, and them reservoirs that the water pump shows when you're looking at it off, it has a reservoir that goes up and a reservoir that goes down. Is that what you mean? And those shouldn't be there. It should be all open. If it's all open, or are you talking about how it goes through the engine through one hole and out the other hole? Them vanes? He was like, yeah, well, it depends on the vanes, the circle, or if they're oval, or if they're. I was like, all I know is a water pump it didn't overheat, and I wanted to know how much more efficient was your water pumps than a regular water pump with those special impellers on them, bro. Like, that's what I want to know before I spend my money. I was like, I know it's going to work if I buy one that's going to work. I know with that design that they use, it should work better. I know all of that. I know it's not going to overheat. I just wanted to know if it was worth me just going to get a $158 water pump, but just putting a regular one back on like I had on there and dealing with it. And I noticed the stronger the electric fans, or the more air the electric fans is pushing, the cooler is going to stay anyway. So if I was to get electric fans that moves a certain amount of RPMs, or it blows very hard, it's going to stay at 180 anyway, no matter which way the water pump was going. But those kind of fans are very expensive, like the Spall. And I got 2 pushers and 2 pullers. So I got 2 12-inch ones on the front, 2 12-inch ones on the back. Why wouldn't a radiator stay cool with all that pressure? It's just that the fans I got, they're called, what's the name? They're called Proform or something like that. And they're just at least expensive. They're like $42 each. You know what I mean? As opposed to $142 each, like some of them are. Proform. That's what they're called. And they do all right. You know what I mean? Then they do make these fans, these 16-volt fans too, that I'm going to end up getting, so I don't have to use step-down modules, because all they do is prevent the fans from performing as well as they would normally do. They don't let them blow as hard. So if they're set to drop down the voltage from 24 volts like down to 13.8, they're only going to perform it with 13.8 volts will let them perform instead of 14.6 or 15.5. I noticed this, if I take those off, those step down modules off, that 15 volts will cause them to spin faster. And it may burn out a motor. That's what happened to me a couple of times. Okay, they'll blow harder, all right, but burn up too. So I didn't want them to burn up. This is where I'm going with this. Which, the company, the guy, I was talking to, I said, that's why I wanted to talk to a tech, bro. And he was mentioning that, the Ford guys, the guys that drive the Fords, they be having that question too. They race car guys, they want the pump to spin the other way because they have a race car. And I was like, it's almost like y'all should go ahead and start making them like that then. You make more money, but I just had a simple question. And he didn't get mad or nothing. He's like, well, I explained to you 3 times. But what I forgot to tell him, when I hung up, I forgot to say, well, I got 4 electric fans on my radiator, 2 blowing one way and 2 blowing the other. See, that might have changed his perspective. You see what I mean? But, I know that out there somewhere, there's mechanics that do race cars, do build race car engines, and they do stuff like this, and they have done that. They would come and say, hey, Sodda, it would work fine, just fine like that, bro. You ain't got nothing to worry about. I've done it. That's what I'm looking for. Not y'all taking wild-ass guesses and y'all coming and saying stuff like, yo, man, you're not getting no air pockets? No, with overheated, right? You sure that the fans are on right, bro? Are you sure, man? Just know what you're talking about before you give me any advice. Just know you're a mechanic. You're a master mechanic. You've been a mechanic. This has happened. You saw it work. You know what I mean? And you'll be just fine, period. You know what I mean? Because I am going back to a manual water pump for the purposes of a belt wrap. That electric fan is doing well. It keeps it down there. The hottest I've seen it get was 200 on a hot ass day. That's the hottest I've seen that get. Me just idling inside of the unit, it's running for about 30 minutes straight or something. You know what I mean? That's what I've seen. Other than my alternators, 2 alternators, the alternators on the driver's side gets hot fast. So I was trying to ask about that as well. For some odd reason, it gets hot fast. And I took it to get it looked at. Nothing was the matter with it. But it gets hot real fast. Like when I fire it up within 10 seconds, it gets real hot. The charge starts, it's real hot. Real quick. And the other ones take their good old time to warm up. And I was asking about that. And I was like, all these car audio geniuses and electrical geniuses and guys that build alternators, man, there's guys that build alternators that can't answer alternator questions. Well, when you ask them a question, they get mad. And say stuff like, do you even know what you're doing? I'm surprised cats are even buying alternators off you, or if your business is even still up and running with you getting smart with people. I can understand if people get smart with you first. You know what I mean? And you're forced to defend yourself. I can understand that. I know all about that. But they're trying to learn and all that, like I was doing once with Ohio Generator and Tom. I'm trying to learn back at the time. And then instead of him just saying, hey, you do this and do that, he's going to tell me, man, I ain't got time to take you to school, but I got time to spend my damn money on your alternators. You got time to take my money, though. And I stopped buying alternators from him. You know what I mean? I stopped dealing with him because of that. You don't talk to customers like that, hard spending customers like that. You know what I mean? You explain a simple thing I was asking him. And he started flipping on the phone, but then when I seen him in person, I'm getting hugs. Hey, man, how you doing, man? Get out of here with all of that, dude. I ain't got time for that. That's fake. You know what I mean? So, if somebody asks me a question about hairs, either I can answer it or I can't. If I can't answer it, I'll be like, yo, man, I can't answer that. I don't know. You might want to, hey, I'll give you some other barbers a call. If somebody asks me something about car audio and I just don't know, I'll be like, yo, man, I don't know that. That I don't know. And I just ended there. I don't know. But I can, I'll send you to some guys that do. Plain and doggone simple, man. That's the question that I have. That's a tutorial, ladies and gentlemen. And last but not least, like I was saying, sometimes us guys out here that's doing trial and error with equipment knows more than the company. Like, like when I was using power acoustic subs and SPL amps, and I wanted to put an amp on each sub before I started doing that. And I remember mentioning it to one of the guys at Power Acoustic at the time. I was like, oh, I'm about to put one of these SPL 5500Ds, which the amp did not do nowhere near 5500 watts. The most I ever got out of that amplifier was 1875 watts at half ohm with acid batteries and 2 alternators. Okay? When I was running 6 of them and 8 of them. And I wanted to put 1 per sub because I knew in the back of my mind it would be louder if I did that. But the subs were only like 800 or 900 watts at the time. And he was like, oh, hell no, don't do that, man. You'll blow the sub to smithereens. You'll destroy that subwoofer. And when I did it, I didn't destroy the subwoofers. I didn't hurt the subwoofers. And I was like, man, I started realizing, and other companies I've dealt with, that I knew more about their products and playing them and competing than they knew about their own design or their own sub or their own amp. I knew more about it than they do, and they're out there making millions of dollars. I was like, that's a damn shame. I said, I got to tell you what your own equipment is capable of, and you don't even know. And when I tell you, hey man, I did these numbers, I'm putting this much into your sub, and they'll sit back and go, interesting. Yeah, interesting, dumbass. That kind of stuff kind of irks me, dude. Interesting. Or, yes, your amps can run at a half ohm. I do it all day, every day in a hot-ass trunk on a hot-ass day. Really? Oh. I hope some of you guys are going to be listening to this, dude. On Facebook especially. You know what I mean? With your, don't run the amps at a half ohm, because I bet you I can run them at a half ohm and I would get away with it because I know what I'm doing. I bet you I'll get away with it for years. I'll have them in my trunk for years on end. Do more power, put up better numbers, just to tag you in what I'm doing so you can sit back and go, oh man, great. Oh my God. Wow. Great. Oh, snap. Look at those numbers. Yeah, and I'm running them at a half ohm, dude. And they're not even getting hot. Oh, well, I'm not going to warranty them. And so what? So what, dude? I'll send them away to get fixed. All right, I'm spending my hard-earned money with you. Be more concerned about that, and then I'm out competing with your stuff. Be more concerned that because of me, guys like me, you're getting more sales and getting richer. Be concerned because of that. You're welcome. Be concerned because of that. Don't go into logistics of bullshit. I don't want to hear your logistics, dude. I'm buying your stuff. I'm running your stuff in my car and getting you sales, and I'm not getting compensated for people wanting to run your equipment because I'm running it, or so-and-so is running so-and-so, and we're doing big numbers with your equipment. And you know what I mean? And your head goes way over that. Well, what the hell are you selling equipment for? And another thing, one more thing, you guys are still bashing equipment out there. Once again, I don't know how many tutorials I did. You need to stop bashing because it doesn't mean anything. If somebody is out there using equipment and they're doing big damn numbers, you should just shut up because they're doing big numbers. They're doing what you can't accomplish with cheaper equipment. You cannot accomplish it. And you can talk about DC audio. I'm just throwing this out there, and Sundown and stuff and equipment that's very expensive, and think because it's expensive, it's going to do better. No, it's the builder. We keep telling you that. I always tell people it's 10% equipment and 90% build. I'm surprised y'all ain't biting and using that theory. You know what I mean? And some of us guys are using certain equipment that you just don't like. That is your opinion. Opinions is like assholes. We all have one. And that's it. But some of you guys are bashing and you can't even afford the equipment that you are praising. You can't afford one of the subs and one amp. But to even know what it's really capable of, because you're seeing people on forums talking and you're putting your 2 cents into what they're saying, and you're out there sharing information, and you don't even got a build in the car at all. So just be cool with that, bro, because I will argue with you. Using American-based and Terra amps. And, first everybody didn't like Terra amps. This goes all the way back to Power Acoustic. It goes all the way back to Lanzar. It goes all the way back to SPL amps. It goes all the way back to Shark amplifiers. Here we go again. Y'all was bashing that stuff before a few of us got out there and show improved with numbers, show improved with how it looked in the vehicle, and then the prices were right. And then all y'all needed to do was see a couple people be successful, and then y'all go from bashing to being on your knees praising the amp like it was God, and running and going and buying them. Like y'all are doing Terra amps. Y'all are bashing. And Terra amp guys are out there winning competitions, doing big numbers, you know what I mean, and winning trophies, and doing all this and doing all that. And then y'all sitting there with your lips poked out, and then all of a sudden you want to go and buy it, or you'll keep bashing, talking about dirty power and this and that. Like, people are going to stop spending their money on it. That's not going to work. You can try minding your own business and buying your own building, getting in the lanes, and beating the guys and the equipment that you think suck. Scar as well. Y'all just keep bashing Scar like William Gay is going to stop using Scar because y'all bashing it. He's going to still be out there doing work. Anyway, you're wasting your breath. You're wasting all this fresh air we got to breathe. You understand? Just mind your business. I wonder why people can't just mind their own business. I always wondered why miserable people cannot mind their own damn business, bro. Your own kids, your own house, your own job. Some of y'all dudes ain't even taking care of your kids. You already messed up with me, because if I was God, you don't even want to go there. Quit playing God. If I was God and you don't even take care of your own kids, you know what I mean? You don't even take care of your own kids and you're a deadbeat dad, you suck to society. Which means you shouldn't even be in nobody's business at all, because you're not taking care of your own. How'd that sound? Just a little, just a little. But I'm about to get off here, man, because I went into the 30s in the minutes. All right? So, I'm going to post this up. Give me your input. It's the OG. The 59-year-old OG that will be 60 in March. That's still out here competing in car audio. They're still pop locking. Okay? They're still cutting hair, still doing what I do, and I'm not too old to be doing it. I'm still in the culture that I've been doing since I was 15 and 17. Do you understand? Just because everybody else then got too damn old or their knees hurt. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Peace, y'all.